You know The Magnificent Seven is a remake, but did you know John Wayne remade his own damn movie? Or that Hollywood took a Japanese classic and turned it into a Western twice? These Westerns weren't just inspired by other films, they stole the whole show. Before James Stewart became the face of serious Westerns, Destry Rides Again had him playing Tom Destry Jr., a deputy brought in to clean up a lawless town, except his new boss is a drunk, and the crime he's here to solve is a poker game gone wrong. It's a Western, but it leans hard into comedy, poking fun at some of the genre's biggest cliches. Then, in 1954, George Marshall decided to remake his own movie with Destry, swapping out Stewart for Audie Murphy. This time, no comedy, no parody, just Murphy as a no-nonsense gunslinger who shoots first and sorts it out later. A total shift in tone. A lot of people swear by the original, but Murphy brings something different. Texas-born, real-life war hero. He makes Destry his own. Same plot, same director, but two completely different movies, and people still can't agree on which one's better. John Ford's Stagecoach isn't just a Western, it is the Western. Released in 1939, it put John Wayne on the map as the Ringo Kid, a gunslinger caught up in a dangerous stagecoach ride right through Apache territory. Dated? Yes. Problematic? Absolutely. But huge for the genre. The final shootout alone shaped Westerns for decades. Some movies should just be left alone. This is one of them. But Hollywood didn't get the memo. Stagecoach got a weak remake in 1966, then an even stranger one in 1986. Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, all great musicians, but a Western dream team, not even close. No energy, no charm, nothing that made the original work. If there was ever a sign to stop remaking classics, this was it. Some actors are just built for comedy. Don Knotts was one of them. The guy could get a laugh just by looking confused. He had range too, The Andy Griffith Show, The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, and slapstick westerns like The Shakiest Gun in the West, where he plays a clueless dentist who somehow ends up as a gunfighter. The comedy still holds up, even if the movie's a little dated. What most people don't realize, this is actually a remake of The Paleface from 1948. It doesn't copy the original beat for beat, but the setup is almost the same. Bob Hope also played a completely out-of-his-depth dentist-turned-cowboy. Both movies go their own way, but Don Knotts and Bob Hope are comedy legends, and both knock it out of the park. Hollywood loved remaking Akira Kurosawa movies. Still does. The Outrage is one of them, a Western take on Rashomon starring Paul Newman. Same premise, different setting. A crime happens, and everyone involved remembers it differently. No one tells the same story, and the truth gets buried under all the conflicting versions. It was never going to be as legendary as Rashomon, but it's still a solid movie. Martin Ritt directs, the performances are strong, and as for the script, Kurosawa himself helped write part of it. Even as a remake, The Outrage holds its own. Interestingly enough, Martin Ritt was previously involved in the developmental stage with The Magnificent Seven, which was also a remake of a film by Akira Kurosawa. Back in 1960, The Magnificent Seven hit theaters packed with action, humor, and some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Yul Brynner, Charles Bronson, James Coburn, and Steve McQueen, absolute icons of the Western genre. This one became one of the most influential Westerns of its time, still holding up as a classic. But The Magnificent Seven is not exactly original. This was a straight-up remake of Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, and it all started with Yul Brynner. He was the one who brought the idea to producer Walter Mirisch, pitching a full Western take on Kurosawa's classic. The movie did big numbers with audiences, but critics weren't completely sold. John Sturges's direction got mixed reviews when it came out, but for him, only one opinion really mattered, Kurosawa's. And when Seven Samurai's own director saw it, he was so impressed, he sent Sturges a ceremonial sword as a gift. Doesn't get better than that. Not a shot-for-shot remake, but not exactly an original either. Rio Lobo sits in that weird middle ground. In 1959, Howard Hawks and John Wayne teamed up for Rio Bravo. Wayne played a small-town sheriff holding a criminal in jail while fending off trouble with the help of a drunk, a cripple, and a young gunfighter. Huge hit, Western classic. But apparently, Hawks wasn't done with the concept. In 1970, he made Rio Lobo, another John Wayne Western that follows a lot of the same beats. This time, Wayne plays a man hunting down the traitor who got his best friend killed in the Civil War. Not the exact same movie, but real close. Too close to ignore. Feels more like Hawks trying to refine Rio Bravo than making something new. Some call it a spiritual successor, but at the end of the day, it's just a very loose remake.